Get social with us. Follow us on Instagram at Goodtaste TV.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Good Taste for the Soul, because we are featuring one of my very first guests on this podcast and one of my very first guests ever on Good Taste. Our friendship goes back some 20 years ago when I invited Lidia to come to my home and cook. She didn't know me from Adam, and she accepted. She is the most incredibly gracious, warm, genuine person you'll ever meet. If you've watched her show on PBS over the years, you know exactly what I mean. She has a new book out all about pasta. It's absolutely fabulous, and she shares some personal stories too, which she does on today's episode. Here's Lidia. Lidia, welcome back to Good Taste for the Soul. Thrilled to have you back on. And this time, we're celebrating a brand new book you have, and it's all about pasta.
It is. It sure is, Tanji. People love pasta, I found out, and this is my first single subject book on pasta, all on pasta. Fresh, dry, soupy, whatever way you like your pasta, I've got it.
No, I love it. And I love the way the book starts. It says pasta, pasta, pasta. And there's a lot of significance with those three words, isn't there?
There certainly is, at least for us Italian. But I think, everybody today, pasta somehow became, I think in every family, they have their favorites.
Right. Right. Well, I loved it. You say, too, that your very first episode of your very first TV show, those were the first three words out of your mouth, too.
Yeah, that pasta is like saying Italian, I'm Italian, and it's a way to start.
What do you think the fascination is with pasta? Because, yes, the Americans have it, but the Italians do, too.
I think it's, us Italian must have our pasta. I mean, just about every day. Maybe we skip 2, 3 days a week, but otherwise we have pasta. And I think that the fascination is that pasta, it's very easy to make. It doesn't take a long time. It's economical or it's expensive. If you put truffles is one thing, but you can do garlic and oil. It's very gratifying. For me, it's like, it's a hug when I eat pasta. And I think it's easy digestible. So it has all the pluses of enjoying a meal and having a meal.
Yeah, and it's so affordable, right? And these days, that's a great thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one of the considerations absolutely is the diversity of pasta and the affordability of pasta.
Well, and there's so many shapes. I didn't realize until I started reading your book, there were over 300 pasta shapes.
I think they're coming more by the day. They're always coming up with one. Absolutely. And, shapes are very important. And at least to me, to everybody, they could be fun. They make sense in which sauce you use them with, how long they cook, whether they bake well, or, because a flat pasta like fettuccine to bake doesn't make sense. It all sticks together. But a nice kind of gomiti or corkscrew pasta that has all the twirls and twists bakes very nicely.
Well, do you still make a lot of your own pasta?
Well, and in this book I address both. There is the fresh pasta, which is, fresh homemade pasta, and I make regularly. And then there's the whole dry pasta. And Italy somehow divides, not anymore. You can have all kinds of pasta all over. But it used to be dry pasta was in the south and the fresh pasta was in the north. And that was basically because of, I guess, the topography, the climate, and the wheat. The soft wheat grows in the north, and the durum wheat, the hard wheat, grows well in the south. And durum wheat is what you really want to make dry pasta, and the wheat, the white wheat, the light wheat, is what you want to make fresh pasta with.
Well, I don't know. It's probably changed, but I'm a loyalist. And so I go to Italian brands when I'm buying dry pasta, because you talk at length in the book about things to look for, and the texture of the pasta is very important in the dry, right?
Absolutely. I think that the Italian pasta is the best pasta, and that is because of the wheat, the durum wheat. The Italian durum wheat, especially down south in Campania, in Puglia, is very high in gluten, the proteins. And that's what,
Hmm.
because dry pasta is made only of durum wheat and water, nothing else. And so those two elements, it is the water as well that gives taste, because the big pasta makers are close to rivers, oddly enough, in Italy. So
Ah,
they use the water from the rivers, and the drying of the pasta is extremely important. That the pasta dries from the inside out, that it doesn't form that kind of backbone inside, the chewiness. So those two elements, they're simple, but simplicity is the most complex, to achieve. You have few elements.
yes. That's true, and that's one of the beautiful things I think about Italian food is so many of the dishes and so many of the ones over the years I've learned from you are really basic, simple dishes. It all goes back to the ingredients you start with. It's so important.
Absolutely. I think it's the simplest is spaghetti, garlic, and oil. And so you start with good oil,
Mhm.
good garlic, and some of the cooking water, and you finish the pasta in that little sauce with a little parsley, and voila. But from there, you build
Yeah.
on. You can add
Yeah.
fish to that, shrimps, scallops, and you have, then you can add a little tomatoes, and then you have a little red sauce with shrimps and scallops. Or you can go in a vegetal direction. Put in there sliced zucchini, sliced eggplant, or whatever, and then build the sauce. So it's a simple base that you can add as much or as little as you want.
Yeah. I saw something I wanted to mention to you in the Wall Street Journal today. There was an article in there about how the import taxes and whatnot are affecting Italian pasta. And one of the big manufacturers is threatening to pull out of America. And I thought, they better get this figured out because Americans will revolt if we don't get our pasta.
Absolutely. No, there is a problem with this taxes that are going on. But I hope it will be resolved,
Yeah.
in a world. And the Italians are worried, because so much of the Italian traditional products are loved and used by Americans, like pasta, like olive oil, like Grana Padano cheese, all of the cheeses. So we better resolve this quickly.
Yeah, I agree because those dishes made with products from other countries just are not going to be the same.
They're not. They're not. To really transport a traditional culture, culinary culture, the safest with the ingredients. If you have the right ingredients, then your dish is easy, and it tastes the best. So absolutely. I mean, in Italy, we are so into the traditional ingredients, and we use the grana padano, the parmigiano reggiano for certain things. The arborio rice. We need to have certain products for a risotto without arborio rice or carnaroli rice. It's not a risotto, and so on.
No, it makes the big difference. And I want to be sure people know I'm put up your book and whatnot, but this book, yes, it was one single subject. And you think, well, I'm so used to Lydia's cookbooks with all these different recipes. This is a fantastic book. And it's clear that you guys put so much time and effort. The images are beautiful. There are full color images on, I bet 95% of the dishes mentioned in here. It's a wonderful, wonderful resource. I'm a traditionalist. I prefer a book, especially for my cookbooks, because I like to go back to my favorites over and over again. And this is a book that it'd make a great gift, by the way, but it's one you want to hold on to. It's wonderful. It really is. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Tanji. But I get that from a lot of people. Their cookbook, they want to hold it in their hands. They
Yes.
want to, and sometimes they come, I'm signing the books and it stains. Says, Lydia, I'm sorry, it's stained. I said, no, I like it like that. That means that you're using it. And they said, yeah, the book is, I refer to it. And you know what, Tanji? I certainly have over 100 recipes, and I begin with the very traditional and simple recipes, and I explain them, and I go through to the recipes of doing that. But then also I elaborate on that, and I
Yeah.
make my own. And I encourage the cooks at home to do the same. You go to my recipe, you go to the basis, you master that, and then make it your own, whatever you have in the fridge
Now,
or in the garden.
I picked this up to start looking at it last week when I was getting ready for your interview, and it pulled me in. It really did. It's a wonderfully informative. It will make you hungry, but you share a lot of personal stories as well, so it's great. I wanted to talk about some of the recipes in here because some, if you're familiar with Italian food, some will be familiar to you. I, being a long-time fan of everything Italian, am familiar with a lot of them in here, but honestly, there's some in here that were new to me, and I thought it might be fun for our viewers to take a look at them as well. One of them is called, is it bucciati? Bucciati?
Busiati.
Bucciati.
Yes.
And with trapani style pesto.
Trapani style pesto.
Okay.
Now, this is very interesting, and it's economical and it's so convenient. So busiati are like long kind of screws, but with a hole in it. So they're kind of twisted, and they take and absorb the sauces. And in this case, Trapani is a city on the north side of Sicily. And the pesto there, I went there to learn how to make couscous. Trapani is known for its couscous, and so I went in with with a chef and whatever, and she was showing me how to kind of impregnate the couscous with water. But then lunchtime came, and she made this busiati with trapanese sauce, and I says, "Wow, I never had this." And it's a sauce that's so simple. It's made with almonds. Now, usually you're used to pine nuts, but this one is made with almonds, with fresh tomatoes, yes, some basil, some garlic, and it's kind of a pinkish pesto, basically tomatoes and almonds and olive oil and some peperoncino and some basil. So it's a delicious pesto that you can make in the middle of winter, and it's great. And the busiatis are nice to serve with it. It's this kind of pasta that these little screws that kind of take up the pesto and deliver it to your mouth.
Well, it's really pretty. It's really pretty. And again, your ingredients, they were enticing: olives and the tomatoes. Speaking of tomatoes, what's the best tomato? We don't get, unless we buy them at a farmer's market, getting really good tomatoes here is kind of challenging. You think, we're in Texas, you think the farmers do well, but sometimes the mass produced items in the grocery store kind of,
Right.
what is there a particular kind you prefer because there's so many?
Well, you have a good weather down there, but I would say, basically in season. So the tomatoes, especially the north and whatever, it's in the summertime you get your
Right.
tomatoes. Now, for sauce, I like to use the San Marzano tomato. San Marzano is a little town outside of Naples, and these, kind of sexy, long-looking tomatoes that have kind
Yeah.
of little shape, they are the best when they're mature for sauces. They're the best if they're fresh, but also canned. They're really good. And the reason that they're good for sauces is because they have a thin skin, a lot of pulp, not too much juice, and not too many seeds. The seeds are it's wood. And it renders the sauce a little bitter. So this tomatoes is ideal for sauces, for tomato sauce, marinara sauce. But when in the summer and when you have those little cherry tomatoes and all of that, and they're really ripe and nice, just throw them in the pan with some garlic and oil and let them pop
Let
open.
'em
Now
do
you
their
will have
thing.
to deal you will have to deal with the skin, but you could blanch and pull that off. But in the summertime, use whatever is nice and ripe and sweet.
Okay. And otherwise, look for the San Marzano. I cook with those. I do like those. Okay. Back to these amazing recipes in your book. Straccinati?
Strascinate.
Straccinati.
Strascinate is to drag. So this is a kind of fresh pasta, but it's made with semolina and sweet and regular white. And what it is, you make like a long kind of tubular thing, and you cut it in small pieces, maybe an inch long, and then you use your index, your first three, middle finger, and the next finger, and you dive it into this dough and you drag it on the board, and it becomes this kind of long, open, almost with three kind of imprints in there from your fingers. So it's straccinate. They make them. It's a dough that's a pasta that's made in the house. And usually this one, they have dry ones too. You can buy the straccinate, but they're nice to make fresh. And I give the recipes to make them fresh.
It's
And
beautiful.
fava,
It's interesting.
yeah. And since they are from the south and whatever, fava beans and tomatoes, it's a great dish again with vegetables and some pecorino cheese, of course.
Of course, and there we go back to those ingredients that you can only get the really good ones in Italy. Okay, the next one I liked was on page 53, and it is Istrian-style passutis?
Pasciutisse is a local name. I come from Northeast. Now it's Croatia, actually, but it was Italy. So back and forth, different names. But it's in Italian, it would be the maltagliati, the ones that are kind of cut haphazardly. And what it is this is one of those doughs with white flour, light, with just a very little egg and some water, and you make your dough and you extend it out, and then you cut diamond shape pasta. Just go strips once and then across the other way, the strips, and you have this diamond shaped pasta, this flat, and they are great with seafood. We traditionally use them with seafood. They absorb a lot of the sauce and they are light. So it's one of my childhood dishes, if you will.
Oh, and this one looks delicious with the different seafood varieties in there as well.
Uh,
All right, another section. I'm giving everyone just enough to entice because the book is big and there's some amazing things in here. Another one you talk about the mac and cheese, cooking with cheese, and on page 72, you have the most enticing recipe for macaroni and cheese. Something so simple, but yet you have taken it to new heights with this.
It's about the cheese. I use Fontina cheese and I use provola. And these are all cheeses that are very rich in flavor and in texture also. They really melt, they're buttery. So they bring all that extra flavor into. Sometimes I find that mac and cheese have a lot of the bechamel, the white sauce of flour and milk. But, I focus on the cheese. And then on top, a little breadcrumbs with some Parmigiano or Grana to create the crust, So it's cheese inside and out.
Yeah, it
But
just looks
crunchy.
amazing. Who doesn't love cheese, right? After all, we're talking Italian. Then there was another one on page 138. I had never heard of this, and to my knowledge, I've never had it. Ditalini and potatoes?
Yes, this is a Neapolitan dish.
Okay.
And it's, one of those dishes that you sort of had you had things at home. Potatoes, you had some ditalini, the small tubular pasta,
Right.
and of course here provola. Provola is a cheese very much used in the South, and it is, mozzarella is a Southern cheese. It is the basis of mozzarella, which is a pulled cheese. It's not a cured cheese, and then they coat it with wax so it doesn't dry out. So it ages slightly inside, but it still has that it pulls like mozzarella and things, but it has a bit more intensity too. And so they use it a lot for cooking with pasta. They use it a lot as a main ingredient, almost like in this. And so you cook your potatoes, very simple, and a little bit of rosemary, a little bit of good olive oil. You put a little water, you let that cook, then you throw the pasta, let the pasta cook with the potatoes. And then when that's just about cooking, a little bit of olive oil, you dice this provola cheese and you fold it in, and then you serve it. And so you have these strings of provola cheese and potatoes and the pasta, and they love it. And then, but sometimes they put also vegetables. You can put peas in
Oh,
there.
really?
You can just see, that's what pasta is all. Is so good because you can elaborate, you can add to it. And I encourage, whatever, let's say, I don't know, somebody doesn't like peas, you can put asparagus, just make sure that the cooking time is that it's cooked. And pasta gives you that versatility, that availability of use what you have in the refrigerator.
Yeah, which makes it so approachable. What on the provolone cheese is it similar? It's not provolone.
Well, it's in the family. Provolone is the big, long, cylindrical. The provola is more those little balls that look like a squash. and it's usually has
Yes.
it's tied around. So that's the provola. It's a little younger. The provolone is the same cheese, the mozzarella that's with the wax, and usually in long things. And that's aged much more. That's more intense.
Okay, well, I'm gonna look for that. I have not cooked with that, but looking at the recipe, the picture of the dish, anything with a long stringy thing of cheese coming,
You like that,
I'm
eh?
ready. Oh yeah, I love cheese. I love cheese. What are some of your book goes into a lot of detail, but for a lot of us cooking pasta, there's different information out there. Some people say when it comes to something as basic as boiling the water, do you salt the water before you put the pasta in? Do you wait till it's boiling?
So you boil the water, and then you put the salt, and then you put the pasta. You don't want the salt to boil in the water because it dehydrates, it concentrates, and whatever. You don't need that. So boil the water, no oil, nothing, just simple water. Give it abundant water so that the pasta kind of turn. Unless you do like a pasta di Talini, where you want that starch, turn the potato, and you put the pasta right in there to cook in there. That's kind of a soupy pasta, and I give quite a few recipes of those. But otherwise, regular pasta, dry a box of pasta, give it enough water, and then you put the salt, and then you throw in the pasta, and you just let it. Try to get it back to boiling as soon as possible, cover it, and then let it boil. And I would say, once it starts boiling, don't let it like volcano. You can lower it as long as the pasta is boiling slowly. It's okay. And then I usually fish it out, or you can drain it. Do not rinse it. Because, Tanji, the old saying, if you throw pasta to the wall and it sticks, it's done.
Yeah.
A little bit of stickiness you want on the pasta, so you don't want to rinse that pasta.
And I've seen you do it on your show. Do you always recommend putting some of the original water back into the sauce? Or is that only if the sauce?
Always save a little bit of that water, because that's plain water that has a little bit of starch and it has a little seasoning of salt. Because the pasta absorbs sometimes more, sometimes less when you saute it. It's sort of, you need to loosen. And you don't always want to add lots of sauce or butter or oil, You have time to do that. You just want to bring the pasta back alive, and you do that with pasta. With the pasta water. So always save a little pasta water, because, you have people sometimes coming, you have the pasta ready and your kids, I don't know where they are. They're not there. And so the
Right.
pasta, then it needs a revival. The pasta water is what you need. And then you can sauce it some more or whatever you'd like.
Well, do you have a favorite pasta dish? I mean, if you're going to make pasta, is there one thing you go to over and over again?
Well, I like, spaghetti. I like linguine clam sauce. That's what I love seafood, and that's one of my favorite. If I don't have the linguine, the clams at home, then I'll do the garlic and oil and anchovies. So something like that, simple. Simple, 2-3 ingredients, but the linguine clam sauce, I can have a big plateful, and I'm a happy camper.
If you can't get fresh clams, do you just skip it? Because getting good clams in Texas, I can tell you, is often a bit of a challenge.
It is, but you can do the same with shrimps. But they have frozen clams, chopped
Mhm.
clams, and
They
they're
do.
not bad. So you do the best that you can, and if you feel like it, frozen fish companies, they have all kinds of stuff that you can ship and have at home. So don't
It's
give
there.
up.
Keep looking. Don't give
Yeah,
up, right?
yeah.
I wanted to ask you too, I can't tell you you're one of my culinary heroes. And I know that a lot of people feel that way. People love hearing from you. Our viewers do, and the country in general. And that's not an overstatement. You've accomplished so much. When you look at everything you've done, is there something you've still got on that to-do list that you want to do?
Yeah, I've been blessed, Tanji. I mean, you and I go back at least 25 years, the
Yeah, a
first
long
time,
time.
right? You were just beginning your show.
Yeah,
I remember, and we did it in your home.
that's right.
You remember that?
I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Lydia, I will tell you, I created this, oh gosh, probably some 20 years ago. It's a wish board, where you write something and you stick it on a board. It's
Uh-huh,
kind of a positive visualization exercise.
yeah.
I have a sheet of paper that says Houston. I wanted to expand our business into Houston, which we did. And the
Uh-huh.
second word on that sheet of paper says Lydia. And it kind of, it's talk about full circle for me. And so you've been a huge blessing to me, but I didn't want to cut you off, but I wanted to share that with you, how special this is to me
I
too.
appreciate that. I follow you. I appreciate it. And it's nice to see, especially for me, women in our industry, be it in the broadcast, be it in the cooking, be it in the business. It's nice to see,
Yeah.
that we're out there, that we're making a difference and that we're sharing what we love. So much continued success, Tanji.
Well, right back at you, but I want to hear the rest of your I so rudely cut you off. What
No,
is
no, no.
something out there that you still aspire to do? You were saying
Well,
very blessed.
right. So Tanji, I am more than 50 years in the restaurant business, and after COVID, my kids have taken over that. I am 27 years on public television,
Wow.
18 cookbooks. So I've done a lot. So the television and the cookbook and the teaching still. I continue to do, and I work in the restaurants with after I'm finished with this, I'll go down to the Becker restaurant on 46th Street with the chefs. I still have fun with that. But you know what I find now that rewards me and I give it more time is actually doing fundraising and giving out there with the food. Doing
Mhm.
events as chefs. We feed people. We invite generous donors. They donate to a case. So I am very much with the Smile Train. These children that have the
Yes.
cleft palate. I've been there for a long time, but now I'm actually a spokesperson, and I go around and hopefully, raise money for the children that can afford to have these operations, and that otherwise all their life, are maligned because they're
Yeah.
not. So, in one little operation, well, they have to do two or three, but beginning with one resolves. So that I work. I also am on the board of the Jesuit Refugee Services, taking sort of helping refugees, not necessarily what's going on in America, but around the world. Children that are in refugee camps, and a child, because I was a refugee. I
That's
spent two
right.
years in a refugee camp, and I know a child in a refugee camp loses 2 years of education. So I'm very much in building schools and teaching for children in refugees camps around the world. And then, of course, autistic children, cooking with autistic children. So I look for those kind of things now whenever I can make a difference.
Well, you always make a difference in so many lives. I have to tell you, you haven't seen it yet because it just aired this weekend. We took the first episode you and I did for this podcast, and repurposed it for our TV show. And
Huh?
we focused on your history and that how your family was in a refugee camp, how you came to this country, with the point being, our God is so good. Who would have ever imagined that you coming as a little girl to this country, not knowing the language? I mean, and look at where you are.
I am ever so grateful, and I guess the more you get into and you're accomplished and you raise your family and all of that, and those kind of worries are away. I look and I says, my God, I was given such great opportunity. And Tanji, sometimes you hear America, there's no country like America. There's no place better than America. And I am ever so grateful. And I have been given the great opportunity, but an opportunity to work, yes, and to make it happen, but also the American people. I remember way back when I came as an immigrant, and they found a little apartment for us and a job for my father. The neighbors came around and brought us food, brought us for us kids, toys, dresses, shoes, whatever. I can't, you can't forget that.
Yeah,
I
it
can't.
stays with you. No, I love to always hear immigrants talk about America because so many do appreciate uh, our people and our values and the opportunity this country
It's the
has.
great. There's no other country like it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I have one final question that's kind of newsworthy. Is Houston getting an Italy?
I think, I'm not into the research department there, but they're researching. How's that?
Good. I think it would do well. I mean, I selfishly would love it, but
Yeah, yeah. I think it's bound to come. I don't know
good.
exactly there, but they're working on it.
All right. I keep hearing
I was
the
just down
rumbling.
there. I was just down there at Temple in Dallas. I did a book signing and a presentation in Temple, Emmanuel. There's the local bookstore there that does events. They
Okay.
invited me. Yeah. And I was thinking of you, but I said, okay. And I think at that time you already had this appointment. I said, okay, I'll see Tanji.
I'm glad we did. Next time you come to Texas, let me know where you're at, and then maybe I can meet up. I would love that. It's been a long time.
Okay. Okay, Tanji.
It's been great. And the book is called Lydia's The Art of Pasta. You can get it
Right.
on Amazon or anywhere, right? You get books.
Yeah. Yes, all over. It's available. I'm very proud of it and happy. You know, it takes a lot of people to get
Beautiful.
the book down. So I'm grateful for everybody and my daughter who collaborates with me and does all the
Yeah.
research.
She must be
Uh,
something else,
but
Lydia.
do you know my daughter? She's wonderful.
Yeah.
When they were small, my kids, and they worked around the restaurant, I always told them, you can't. This is not what you want to do. You need to get your education. You need to get a real American job. And what is that? She ultimately got her PhD from Oxford in Renaissance art history.
Wow.
And then somehow, when she moved back from Italy and she was having her children and she was at home, she began to help me with research. And she's been with me ever since. She does all the books, she does the production of my shows, and so on. So we collaborate, and she's just great.
Yeah, I would imagine she's pretty special. I loved reading about her, and of course, have seen her name pop up on different things over the years. Well, Lydia, thank you so much. I really am grateful, and I hope you'll come back and we'll talk about something fun, all things Italy, either in Texas or who knows, maybe I'll pop on your door up in New York.
Wherever, Tanji, keep us in touch. Thank you for having me. Wishing all the best to everybody. Happy holidays. And as we say in Italian, alla prossima, to the next one.
I'm not sure what the Italian response would be, but cheers. I'm there.
Okay. All right,
Thank you
Tanji.
so much, Lydia.
Get social with us. Follow us on Instagram at Goodtaste TV.